Good morning, beautiful people. I hope you're having a great day so far. Just hit a leg day, did some cardio, and that's actually what I want to talk about today is cardio. So the first obvious thing is people are gonna ask me, oh, well, do you need to do cardio, or is that just when you're trying to lose weight? Yes, you should always be doing some form of cardio. You should be getting in your daily activity, but you should also be doing some form of moderate / rigorous cardio every week. And that's because you can increase things like your mitochondrial function, your capillary density, your stroke volume, your VO2 max. You're gonna live longer, and just be overall healthier, reduce your rest times, things like that. There's essentially no downsides to doing cardio other than time and energy, because cardio fucking sucks. Like, I'm not gonna be the guy that sits here and is like, oh, I love cardio. No, fuck, I hate cardio. Me and all my homies hate cardio, but we do it anyways, because you're a fucking adult, and sometimes you just gotta, the expression I use is you just gotta eat your broccoli sometimes. You know, you don't want to, but you just gotta do it because you know that it's beneficial. And with the benefits, things like capillary density and mitochondrial function, those are the biggest benefits that you can reap, in my opinion. Of course, they are all very good. But the mitochondrial function is very important because mitochondria are what clear calcium ions from your muscle cells. And of course, we know that calcium ions are essentially the big bad when it comes to fatigue, because most fatigue, at least most, that's what causes the most peripheral, that is the peripheral fatigue. But with central nervous system fatigue, most of that clears out in intra-workout. Obviously, you have the inflammatory response that carries over across the day, but when we're talking about central nervous system for the fatigue, for the most part, we're talking about intra-workout fatigue, and this clears up within a couple minutes. But when we're talking about calcium ion related fatigue, that's when the calcium ions flood into your cell and they do a whole bunch of bad shit. And if you have better mitochondrial function and more dense mitochondria, then you can clear them out better, and you can, overall, it's just going to make your lifting and everything better. So that's enough of yapping about why cardio is good, why you should do cardio. Let's talk about the kinds of cardio and some common myths about it. So first is you want to be doing your general activity. So this is just your non-exercise. This is just outside of cardio. You just want to be getting in a good amount of activity from just walking and stuff like that. Like, if you're not hitting your 10,000 steps every single day, that's a problem. You should 100% be getting 10,000 steps every single day. 10,000 steps is not a very hard thing to hit, especially in the modern era. Buy a walking pad. I've become the biggest walking pad fucking salesman recently, but it's literally $100, and you can just plug it in. They're tiny. I have a studio, and I have a walking pad, and it doesn't take up any space. It's $100, and you can just fucking walk anytime. I know that if I looked at your screen times, that it would be abysmal. And if you just were walking, I'm not saying you got to give up your screen time. I'm just saying to walk while you're doing it instead of sitting. Because I've talked about this in the past, but the average person's spending 10 to 12 hours on their ass every single day. And a lot of that, if you're at work and for some reason your work has standing desks banned or something, or you just don't want to buy a standing desk, that's fine. But I know that when you get home from work, I know that in the mornings, you're probably just sitting down most of the time, and you could just be walking. I'm not even saying it needs to be rigorous. Literally set that bitch to 2 miles an hour. You will barely even notice it. You won't be sweating. You won't even really be tired, but you will be getting in that extra calorie burn and just feeling 10 times better. And you also want to be doing some form of rigorous cardio or moderate cardio. I tend to do more of the rigorous side because I'm lazy and I don't like cardio, so I don't want to do a lot of it. And if you do rigorous cardio, you can do it for less time. If you do moderate, you're probably going to have to do it for 30 to 60 minutes a week. And if you're doing moderate, probably, or not a week, a session is going to be, you're going to want to do that at least like 3 times a week. 30 to 60 minutes of moderate, or 15 to 30 minutes of intense. And when I'm talking about intense versus moderate, it's just the zones, it's just heart rate. So for moderate cardio, you should be able to pass what's called the talk test. And that's just, could you have a conversation while you're doing it? You shouldn't be able to just breeze through a conversation. So if you're like on the phone with someone, they should be able to tell that you're just doing something. They shouldn't be just thinking, oh, this person isn't doing, like, he's just sitting on the couch. They should be able to tell that you're at least doing something, but you should be able to hold the conversation. If you're doing rigorous cardio, it's to the point where you couldn't hold a conversation because you're having to breathe too hard and to exert so much energy to where you just basically can't have a full conversation. So either one of those, and then you on top of the amount of steps that you're getting. And then one thing that I want to clear up right away is fasted cardio. I still see people preaching fasted cardio all the time. Oh, you do fasted cardio, then you're going to burn fat. Yes, I'm not going to say that that's false, because it's not. It's true. You will be using mainly fat as your fuel source if you're doing fasted cardio. However, literature has shown time and time again that when you compare when you have equivalent calories, equivalent protein, and you do cardio, they'll do the same form of cardio, same everything, except the only thing that's changed is if they're in a fasted or fed state. And yes, they burn more fat during the cardio, but then your body is very efficient, so it just burns more carbs throughout the rest of the day. But if you're doing it in a fed state, it's going to be mostly carb fueled, and then you're going to burn more fat throughout the rest of the day. So at the end of the day, when all net, it's just equivalent. You don't lose any more fat-free mass when you do fasted cardio versus fed cardio. So just do whatever one you prefer. Like, I will never be a fasted cardio proponent, because I always say cardio is going to cause muscle damage. It just will, because you're having eccentric contractions. An eccentric contraction is when you're thinking about that, you're like, wait, what the fuck? Eccentric contractions are the way down on a lifting. Yeah, it's also the way down on anything with cardio. So a footfall. That's why incline walking is less damaging than normal walking, because your footfall that's the eccentric, that landing phase is the eccentric form of cardio, and that landing phase is shorter if you have an incline versus if you have a just flat surface, and especially compared to a decline surface. The other benefit of incline walking is that you burn more calories. I don't remember exactly the metric, but I believe that it's around 10% more calories per each 1% of incline that you're doing. So you can really, if you really bump that incline up there, you're going to burn a lot more calories compared to if you are just doing flat surface walking. And you're going to have less damage. So incline walking is, if you're going to walk, that's the best way to do it, is incline walking. But if you want to be thinking about how can I minimize the muscle damage, because you know the muscle damage is going to happen from cardio, but you also know that you want to do cardio, or that you should be doing cardio. So how do I best structure my cardio? What's the type of cardio, and when should I do it? Well, since you know it's going to be muscle damaging, you want to give yourself the most amount of time to recover from this damage before your next workout. So the ideal time to do cardio is right after your workout. Literally, you finish your workout and then just go and do whatever modality of cardio that you want to do. So that's the timing for it, is do it after your workout. But if you want to know, oh, well, then what's the best modality of cardio to do? Well, again, we want to think about what's going to be the least damaging. So when you think eccentrics are footfalls, so walking is going to have eccentrics. Running is going to have very hard eccentrics, that's why running is very damaging. So The best forms of cardio are concentric based cardio. So this is going to be, my favorite is elliptical. Not only is it purely concentric based, but it's also really easy to get your heart rate just through the roof. Like that's what I do for my moderate / high intensity cardio is elliptical. Because for me, it's like I don't even have to really go crazy with it. And the other good thing is that not only is it going to be it's going to be minimally damaging, especially compared to other forms of cardio, because it's concentric based, it's also spreading out the damage across your entire body because you're using your arms, your trunk, and your legs to move the machine. As opposed to something that was most purely concentric based. Actually, I can't think of a single purely concentric based cardio modality that is not full body for the most part. I mean, I guess if you did like the arm thing, that one would be obviously just localized to your arms. But other than that, the concentric based things are rowing. Rowing's a great one. I don't fuck with rowing, but I know a lot of people really do. So rowing is a great one. You can do, if your gym has one of the fucking climber things, those are actually really good, and that'll get your heart rate going. You don't even have to really be going that fast or that hard, and it'll get you up there, especially if you've never done it before. And biking is another concentric. I mean, I guess that's I'm stupid. Biking is obviously the concentric based one that is localized to just your legs. But then swimming is another great one. Obviously, it's less practical because most people's gyms don't have a pool. But if yours does have a pool and you happen to enjoy swimming, go for a little dip after your workout. It's a purely concentric based cardio modality, and you don't have to do it for very long. So when you're thinking about the best forms of cardio, you just want to think about what's the least damaging. So I just listed all of those ones. The best would be something that is not damaging and spreads the damage across multiple limbs. So elliptical, swimming, climbing, rowing, and then just below that would be biking or the arm bike thing. Because those are, yes, purely concentric based, but it's going to be localized damage instead of being spread out. So those are the modalities. Fasted versus fed, again, does not fucking matter. You will burn more fat during the cardio session if you do it fasted, but then during the rest of the day, you'll just end up burning less fat, and it just equals out. So you want to do a concentric based cardio. You want to spread it out across your limbs, and you want to do it ideally after your workout, right after your workout. Again, this is an ideal situation, right? I know that most people, after they finish, if you just finish a hard fucking leg day, the last thing that you want to do is go hop on an elliptical machine or go for a swim or especially ride a bike. Fuck that. That is like the last thing that you want to do after a hard leg day. So for a lot of people, you can just stick your cardio on your rest days. If you're doing full body every other day, boom, you just every other day you're doing some cardio. Of course, that can also be annoying because now you have to go to the gym on your rest days too. So unless you have an apartment gym or you happen to have a bike or an elliptical machine at your house, see, that's where I would just say get a walking pad and do it there. Because when we're talking about these differences, it's so minute. It is so minute, especially if you're not doing just dummy amounts of cardio. Of course, if you're doing an hour and a half of vigorous fucking elliptical every day, or if you're gonna do an hour and a half of cardio every single day, then you're probably gonna start experiencing some damage. Are you gonna go, or what are we doing here, buddy? Oh my fucking god. Yeah, if you're doing an hour and a half of cardio every day, then that's where the point where you're like, okay, I probably shouldn't be doing walking. I should probably be doing something that is minimizing the damage. But if you're just doing 3 or 4 cardio sessions a week, just walk. Like, don't run unless you really, really love running. It's just, you have to be aware of these things. Be aware that you're going to be causing extra damage. And so maybe you want to do those runs. And if you are going to be doing runs, that's where you want to just, that's why being aware of all these different mechanisms can help you with planning. Because if you want to run, that's where I would say, okay, do it right after your workout. Because now you're giving yourself the most time to recover from the damage that's going to happen. If you're going to do elliptical, then it doesn't really matter. Do it do it on your rest days, because you're really not causing very much damage to your muscles that has to then be repaired. And everyone's always so afraid of the fatigue goblins. The fatigue goblins are not going to get you unless you're doing stupid shit. If you're running a lot and you're doing it on your rest days, you're not really resting anymore. Your leg gains are probably going to suffer. And not only your leg gains, just your gains in general, because this is back to the fatigue mechanisms. When we're thinking about central nervous system fatigue, yes, I said most of it will clear, but I also mentioned the inflammatory response. You get these little bitches called cytokines. They're gonna go in and they're gonna wreak havoc, and then they go into your bloodstream, and your brain detects those inflammatory markers, and then that comes back to the brain as a perception of effort. So if you think about perception of effort, that's what makes, when you reach the point of perception of effort that makes you reach failure. So the thing that makes you reach failure in a set is when the amount of motor unit recruitment that is required to complete the task is greater than the amount of motor unit recruitment that your perception of effort will allow. And that's kind of a funky explanation, but it essentially means that if you think about it like a milk jug, what's your perception of effort, right? And the milk jug is your perception of effort, and the milk is your motor unit recruitment. That's what we want. We want to only fill this milk jug up with motor unit recruitment. But if you have other things in place, maybe you have some life stress, you have some CNS fatigue that's carrying over, it's going to fill up your perception of effort a little bit, which only allows you to then fill the rest up with motor unit recruitment. And that's where we get the problems, because now you can't recruit all the motor units that you want to. So if you have these strategies in mind and you know what is going to cause damage, you know that how much damage it's going to cause, and you know that you need to kind of strategize your cardio sessions around your lifts, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to benefit our lifts from doing cardio. It's not the other way around. I mean, for most people, at least if you're watching my channel, that's what I'm assuming, is that you're trying to maximize hypertrophy here, and you're just using cardio as kind of a modality to do that. And so we don't want our cardio to affect our training. So that's where you just want to use these tools and use what's available to you, and then also use what's preferable. At the end of the day, cardio sucks dick. No one likes doing cardio for the most part. I mean, there's some weirdos, but most people don't like doing cardio. So at the end of the day, the best form of cardio, objectively, the best form of cardio is always going to be concentric based only, and it's going to be right after your workout. And it's going to be concentric that's spread across multiple limbs or your entire body. But the reality of the situation is the best cardio is the one that you can do without wanting to fucking die. That's the real answer. I did basketball for a long time because it's just fun for me. So if I can enjoy my cardio versus if I'm doing elliptical or rowing and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get through this. Basketball, I just fucking go play around for a little bit. And yeah, it's going to be more damaging because I'm jumping, and that's like, oh yeah, jump rope is another huge one of just a ton of damage that comes from it. But I used to do jump rope too. Back when I was doing more boxing and Muay Thai training, like I was doing jump rope a lot more. And of course, I knew that it was going to be highly damaging, so I did it right after my workouts. And I wouldn't do it after my leg days. I would do it after I would do it after my leg days. I would do it after my leg days because I'm like, okay, I just caused a bunch of damage to all my leg muscle fibers. So now I'm going to do essentially more damage, and let it carry over. But that way I'm not always in a damaged state. So if I was doing my jump rope on my upper days, then I'm going into leg day in an already damaged state. If you're gonna do it's basically like, if you're gonna do the damage, fuck it up. You know, you want to have it's better to have a bunch of damage and then give yourself a bunch of time to recover than do a little bit of damage and a little bit of damage and a little bit of damage and a little bit of damage. So cardio is not too complicated. At the end of the day, do what is fun for you. Do what you can do without wanting to die. Do some moderate or some high intensity cardio, at least for like an hour a week, and then get your steps in. And yeah, elliptical supremacy. And that's all I got for y'all today. Peace out.